everyone, my name is Emma, this is Emma Raisin Books. I really wanted to film by my bookcase today because the work on my extension is completed, but it's really echoey in there. So yeah, still filming in my bedroom because at least I have white walls, so that's good. Yeah, it's a shame. I've got really nice armchairs as well. In the future. Also, I get a really weird background noise down there. Like downstairs, which even if I turn off like the fish tank and stuff so you can't hear those, there's still always a hiss downstairs. I've got no idea why. So if anybody's got any kind of insight as to why there's a hiss in the downstairs of my house, then I'd love to know. Anyway, this video is all about all the books that I read in August. So the first book that I've read a number of times in August is my book, Lily the Limpet Gets Lost, which is coming out on the 12th of September. I'm super excited about this, and yeah, I've obviously been going through this with a fine-tooth comb, so it's really exciting. So there's that. There'll be lots of videos coming up soon about how to create a children's book and all that stuff, so look out for all that coming up on my channel. But yeah, obviously that's been one of the main books that I've read. But aside from that, other books that I've read. So the first book that I read this month was Salmon Fishing in the Yemen. This is by Piccoult Torday, sorry, not Torbay, that's a place. Is this on? Yes, it is, good. Right, so Salmon Fishing in the Yemen I picked up in a charity shop because I remember hearing lots about this when it came out, and I thought that it sounded good at the time and then never got around to reading it. So when I saw it in the charity shop I thought, oh, I'll pick that up. So this book is about Dr. Alfred Jones, who he's got like a really good job working as a fisheries scientist for the government. He's been married for a really long time. He really admires his wife. They've got like a really comfortable life. He just seemed a little bit dissatisfied, but for the most part he's just sort of living his life and seems alright. And then he's approached to see if he'll be involved in a project to introduce salmon in the Yemen. Now salmon typically live in their life cycle takes part in rivers, in temperate climates. The Yemen is very much not temperate and also doesn't have very much in the way of rivers. They, as far as I understand it, they come and go depending on kind of what season it is, whether it's the rainy season or whatever. So he, against his better judgment, ends up getting involved in this project, and then that has repercussions for his professional life and his personal life. This book is really interesting for lots of different reasons. One of them is the way that it's written. It's written as excerpts from Dr. Alfred Jones's diary. There's also emails and letters from different characters to each other, and interviews and all sorts of things, which just makes it a very interesting narrative, basically. The other thing, sorry, by the way, the sighing in the background, the dog is hanging around the place. She's suddenly discovered that she can go upstairs, so sorry if you can hear her moving in the background. So from my point of view, my bachelor's degree is in marine biology, so the fisheries stuff is the kind of thing that I'm really interested in. And when I was growing up, my dad lived in Saudi Arabia. He lived in Riyadh, and I used to go in the summer and, will you be quiet, and spend 5 or 6 weeks there. I also quite often used to go out in the February holidays and go and visit him. And so like Arabic culture, and I love Middle Eastern cuisine. I love I think it's just one of those things that I went to Saudi Arabia a lot when I was young, and so I feel very drawn to things that are like Arabic or Northern African or anything like that. So culturally I was also very interested in this book. Personally for me, I really liked the story. I thought the characters were very interesting. The main character was very interesting, as was his wife, as was Harriet, who is one of the other people involved in the project, and the Sheikh as well. There's a lot of interesting ideas and concepts, and it merges together science and politics and relationships, and all sorts of different aspects come together in a really good way. It's really cleverly written, very readable. And yeah, I really like the story, I like the way it was written, so, you know, win-win. I really like this book. So this was a 5-star book for me this year. This is one of the best things I've read this year. Loved it. Then I went to the library and I got overexcited by the covers of these two books. I really like blue for a start. I mean, my laptop is blue, I've got lots of blue walls. I mean, I like yellow better probably, but I'm a big fan of blue. So yeah, I like that. And I basically just picked these two books up. They were on their new in shelf. They're not new releases, but they're just like new to the library. And so I kind of went, oh, those are pretty, and got them out, which probably wasn't the best thing. So the first one of those that I read was The Blue Guitar by John Banville. Really liked the cover of this for several reasons. One, I actually have a blue guitar, which if you go on my Instagram, I took a picture of this with my guitar. So, you know, I'm a fan of blue guitars. I like the fact that this guitar has been turned into a lady. That's good. And also the texture, I don't know that you'll be able to tell. It's got like a fabric-y texture to the book. It's a really nice hardback. So, you know, the actual feel of it, I really enjoyed this cover. And on the back, I did read the blurb briefly. It says that it's set in a reimagined Ireland. And again, I've got connections with that. My mum is Irish-blooded, both of her parents were Irish, so I feel strong connections. So I was like, yeah, this is going to be good. I've got a blue guitar, I like guitars, I like Ireland, I like the cover, everything will be good. This book is about a character called Oliver Orme, and Oliver was a very good painter, and he's also a compulsive thief. And he talks a lot about how he came to stealing things, why he steals things, and then he steals somebody's wife. So he's married himself. He ends up having an affair with his friend's wife, Polly. And a large proportion of the book centres around his relationship with Polly. And there were things I really liked about this book. So first of all, it's written in a very literary style. Some of the writing is so beautiful. I can really see why people would enjoy this book. If you want something that's beautifully written, I mean, it uses some words that I've never heard of, and I'm generally pretty good with vocabulary, but there's some in here where I was like, nope, don't know. And it's just, yeah, it's beautiful. The prose is beautiful. But I found it hard to stay absorbed and interested in the story. I kept finding myself being pulled out of the narrative or losing big sections of it because I kind of just wasn't paying attention as I was reading it. I have no idea why this is called The Blue Guitar. I don't remember a guitar being mentioned. I'm sure it was, but I just couldn't, it didn't hold my attention. The character is interesting but annoying. It's nice to read something that centres around like male middle age. I think that's an interesting like time of life to investigate. The same as salmon fishing in the Yemen is similar, but that's just, I think just better in my opinion. But this, yeah, the guy is kind of just really annoying. Now Polly, the love interest, I really liked how she was written. She was very interesting to me, and one of the things I liked is that she's described as being sort of plump or curvy, or like he talks a lot about like the folds of her flesh, and it's written in such a it's written in such a way that she sounds so attractive, and I love the fact that a curvy woman has been portrayed as desirable and beautiful, because that doesn't always happen. There's often a stereotype of women, as much in books as anywhere else. So I really like that, but the way she was written, she was interesting, and I would have liked to have known more about Polly, and kind of seeing her through Oliver's eyes was interesting. But yeah, I mean, their whole relationship and the things that happen, it's one of those, you know, when you get to the point where you just think, I don't care anymore. So it's got some really amazing reviews, and lots of people who talk about how it's like slow paced and it looks at the intricate details of life and it's beautifully written. I agree with those things, but for me, I just found myself not interested in it, and what can I say? So I have no doubt that this is a good book, and if you are into things that are written in a more literary fashion, and you're interested in things that intricately look at, you know, the minutiae of a relationship, I mean, I kind of generally am, but this was just it's very slow, then, you know, you may well enjoy this book. But for me, I just couldn't get into it, didn't like it. So that was a 2-star read for me. Then I read Only the Ocean, which was the other one I picked up at the library. Again, the cover's beautiful. That's what I was sold on. And also this book is set in Cornwall, which doesn't seem to be in the blurb, but I knew that. How did I knew it was set in Cornwall? Oh, it's in the praise. Oh no, that's for a different book. Well, her other book is set in Cornwall. This one is as well. And I lived in Devon for a while, and so again, this is a part of the country that I really like, so I thought, oh, it's going to be set like by the sea or on the sea and in the southwest of England, which is great, so I was well up for this. It's T+, so it's a young adult book, which I read YA every now and again, so I don't mind. So this book, it's about a character called Kel Crow. And Kel is, I guess, like, well, she lives in the swamp, she's poor, she's like, I suppose, like an underclass. She has a heart defect, and in order to get treatment for that, she needs to kidnap somebody, and she's going to get money for that, and then that's going to enable her to be able to pay her way to be able to get her heart treatment, which I thought was an interesting premise. So she goes and kidnaps this girl, and then adventure ensues. There were lots of things I liked about this book. I liked the setting, I liked the character of Kel. Rose was kind of annoying, but I liked Kel. And I liked some of the stuff that was set on the ship near the beginning. And like I said, I liked the idea. It had some lesbian representation, which was handled really beautifully, I thought. You know, there were a lot of positives, a lot of reasons why I would like the book, but then there were also a number of things that kind of spoilt it for me. For one, there were some editing issues. I mean, it's written in a strange way of speaking because it's set in the future, and I think that's part of it, but also Kel just has a strange way of talking. I don't mind that, like a book that's written in a particular character's voice, but it jarred a bit, and then she tends to talk in these strange run-on sentences, and in most cases it was fine, but every now and again there was a sentence that just didn't work. There was some where it seemed that words were missing, or where it was punctuated in such a way that it didn't make sense. So I think it could have done with just more of a clean-up. You see editing issues all the time in books, and it's one of those things that quite often I'll just shrug and be like, yeah, whatever, it happens. Or I quite like it, like, oh, there's a typo. But in this, there was too much of it, I think, and it pulled me out of the story too much. It also had, the main issue I had with it, so the tone of it I think was for like a younger teenager, but some of the themes were really mature, certainly towards the end of the book. Some of the stuff that comes out like as the story is resolved it was really mature. There were references, a number of references to self-harm in the book that I thought were, I didn't think the way they were written were right for a younger teenager, but then this is maybe aimed at an older teenager, but in which case I felt that the tone should be different. So it didn't marry up for me. Which, I mean, reading about something like self-harm is, you know, it's great to have lots of things represented in books, but when it doesn't quite sit right, it just didn't, for me, it didn't work. It was alright, it was readable, but I didn't love it. I would give this 3 stars. It was okay. I mean, it's the way I rate it. Like, 1 star is basically I hated it. 2 stars is I didn't like it, but you know. 3 stars is, yeah, it's okay. 4 stars is this is a good book, I enjoyed it, and then 5 stars is like, wow, that book was amazing. So that's like the scale. So yeah, you know, it was okay, but it wasn't all that. Then I picked up Handle with Care by Jodi Piccoult from the library. It's an ex-library thing. I tend to get most of my books secondhand because I like to get things secondhand anyway in general because of the environment and stuff, but also because I don't have loads of money to spend on books. So I do occasionally buy books, but quite often you'll find that they are secondhand. This is an ex-library copy. I like Jodi Piccoult. I've read a couple of her books. I've only read My Sister's Keeper and Sing You Home. I quite liked My Sister's Keeper. I liked the book better than the film. And I really liked Sing You Home. I thought that was an incredibly interesting book. So I thought, oh, I'll probably like this, and so I picked it up. And it's an interesting book. So the idea is there's the O'Keefe family, and their youngest daughter, Willow, has got osteogenesis imperfecta, which is a brittle bone disease. So her bones break at nothing, basically. And the book starts out with them going to Disneyland for like the holiday of a lifetime, and Willow gets hurt, and they end up, once she's been like x-rayed and stuff, they see all the damage to her, and they get put in like, the family get accused of abusing her. So obviously that's not a very nice experience for them, and the parents, Charlotte and Sean, decide to take legal proceedings because it wasn't a very nice thing to experience. And they can't really do anything legally, and then they discover that one course of action that they can take is to sue the obstetrician that was involved in Willow's birth for wrongful birth, which is essentially the concept that the baby shouldn't have been born. And they're going along the lines of that some information was withheld from them that meant that they couldn't make the choice to have an abortion. Obviously there's huge amounts of triggers within that, so do bear that in mind. Now, they very much love Willow, and that's part of it that's investigated, is the fact that part of it within the story is that they love this girl and they don't wish that she hadn't been born, but then the legal case is potentially beneficial to the family in order to being able to support the family, and different members of the family feel differently about the legal case and whether they should pursue it and all of that stuff. So it investigates all the different characters. The obstetrician that they sue is actually the mother's best friend. So all these different relationships between different characters in the book, which is very interesting. This is a strength of Jodi Piccoult's writing, is that she very much looks at those relationships. Also the way that she generally writes about something medical and also something legal, and she's very well researched, and she kind of puts all that together in a really interesting way. She certainly does this in this book. It's very readable as well, which is another strength when you're reading about something that's quite complex. I mean, within the book it manages to explain all the ins and outs of the type of osteogenesis imperfecta that Willow has, and it's readable, it's no problem, it's, and all the legal stuff makes sense. So all that was there, all that good stuff that I like about Jodi Piccoult's writing. But the issues I had with the book are that I didn't like how the story was resolved. I can't say too much without spoilers, but essentially the main resolution of like all the legal proceedings I didn't like. The way that the book is ended I also really didn't like. I didn't think that any of it sat particularly well with the way it had been set up, and it just didn't like it. I mean, you can't love everything. Also, I found some of the characters very stereotypical, and I found most of the characters stereotypical. I don't mind if like one or two of the characters sit within a stereotype, that's fine, but like when it was all of them. So within the family you've got the mum who's like constantly looking after her daughter and dealing with her needs. They've got an older daughter as well, but obviously the needs of this child who's 6 have a massive impact on Charlotte's life. Sean is a policeman and he works really hard and doesn't bring in enough money, and he's kind of not around because he's working so hard. The teenager has got like all these issues because of how she feels, because of having a disabled sister, and she's got like lots of angst and emotions, and she dyes her hair blue and stuff. And then the Willow is like this almost like perfect character. She's so intelligent and she's so lovable, and like any one of those characters in isolation were fine, and they were three-dimensional, but it was the fact that kind of everybody sat in a predictable mould, I suppose, and so I didn't really like that so much. It would have been nice to have had something that kind of made you question it or like surprised you in the family dynamics. Also within the book there are trigger warnings for references to self-harm and references to eating disorders, but I think compared to Only the Ocean in Handle with Care, I think they were written pretty well. Bearing in mind this is a book for adults, so it's totally different really in the way that it can be approached, and I think it worked in Handle with Care. But I mean, there are so many trigger warnings in this book. So, I mean, it was good, it was readable, I read it quite quickly, I was kind of into it, but I just, the last of it, just for me, it's not one of my favourites of hers. As I say, Sing You Home I really, really enjoyed, so not, you know, not my favourite. I'd give it like 3.5 stars. It was pretty good, but just, you know, shame about the ending, I guess. So that's everything that I've read this month. I am currently reading, let me grab it for you. This, which is indisputably Doris by Charles Heathcote. Charlie is an author tuber and booktuber as well, and he sent me a copy of this for review, which is really kind of him. He's currently bringing out another book. In fact, as I record this, it's his release day, so good luck with that, Charlie. And I'm only a few pages in, but it's really good. So I'll be reviewing that and everything else that I read this month in my next wrap up, which will be like right at the beginning of October. But a lot of this month's videos are going to centre on Lily the Limpet. I'm going to talk about how I made this book and all the ins and outs of making a children's book and publishing it and everything in the lead up to the release. And so I hope that you'll join me for some of that, because I hope that it's going to be useful to people. Please like this video if you did. Please leave me comments if you've read any of these books or any of these authors and what you think, or let me know what you've been reading lately. And have I said subscribe? I don't think I've said subscribe. Please subscribe for more videos about writing. So obviously I'm going to be talking about my upcoming children's book, but in general about writing, about reading and all that lovely bookish content. I will see you all soon. Take care.